All right, so what we're going to do in this video is we are going to find the contour lines. Now, the first thing I want you to understand is what a contour line means. A contour line is a descriptive line, so it's not an outline. It is a line that can include an outline, but really it's more of a detailed line. So if we use contour lines, it should look pretty much like the drawing of what we want. Now, it doesn't include things like texture, which would be like the cheetah would have fur. It is the basics of the line. Now, for this activity, to find these contour lines, all we're going to do is using the picture of the cheetah, we're going to use our Navigator tool that's right here, and we are going to make a new layer, which you can see I already have mine actually, and we're going to use the paintbrush. Now, again, it's kind of like what we're going to do is trace on a new layer to show you those lines. So all we're going to do here is starting with a new layer, I'm going to rename that Contours, and I'm going to name mine Contours 2 because I already have a Contours layer. I'll show you in a minute. And all I'm going to do is using the Navigator. And again, if you don't have the Navigator on your screen, you need to go up to Window and down to Navigator. So mine's checked because I use it a lot. It's always there. So the Navigator, again, allows us to simply zoom in and move around on the work. So what we're going to do there, don't need the polygonal tool. I don't know why I clicked that. But what we can do is look closely at things like something on the nose. Now, the basic shapes of the nose you might have already done. Now, the basic shapes of the nose, we used a triangle. Now, there's a major difference between these two things. Oh no, it lost my contours. Oh well. There we go. I didn't mean to delete that layer. So again, on these, let's call that contours 2. So originally we had done very basic shapes, and we talked about the basic shapes the other day. Again, we looked at the we looked at triangles, squares, and circles. So I'm going to select a color here. You do not need to use black. You can use whatever color you want, so long as it shows up. So here's a nice violet. And our brush is here. So I'm clicking the brush. Now, again, the brush tool, we have a giant brush and a small brush. We really should use a small brush. We don't want it so small that we can't see it, but we do want it to actually feature lines that we can see details. Now, originally we did something like this as our basic shape, and there's nothing wrong with that. But now that we're in contour lines, we want to look at the actual descriptive lines that we think make the nose. And again, it's a little blurry, so it's hard to see, but you can tell that these areas are not necessarily straight lines. So they are contoured descriptive lines. Again, if we have the Navigator open, we can easily move around. But the thing you also want to make sure of is we don't want to draw on the background. We want to make sure we're using a separate layer so we can turn it off. Again, we're going to just follow the contour lines. And again, those are the descriptive lines that our brain sees, and it's going to end up making the cheetah. Now, you can see as I work, I'm very, very close in, and I move it around with the red box. I love the Navigator. It's one of my favorite windows to have open. But again, if you don't want it that close, you can zoom out. And to get rid of it, you simply click it. So you can turn it on to move it and then turn it off. Again, I'm just looking for those main lines, but as soon as I zoom out, you can see I can't get a very straight line there when I want it to be straight. It's real bumpy and crooked. So again, that's one of the reasons that I like to be zoomed in. The more I zoom in, the better my work is going to appear when I zoom out. Okay, so again, I'm going around all these areas, and you can include like a double line if you want. We're going around these. Again, we're not doing the fur. Now, if you notice an area really sticks out because of the fur, you can include that as the contoured shape or for the line. But again, we are not necessarily needing any of, like, see the little hair here. We're not going to add any of that right now. We're going to do that when we get to texture and value. Basically, I'm just moving around the cheetah. Now, you got to be careful not to get in the habit of just drawing these outlines. So if we look inside the cheetah here, we'll zoom out to show you. I can actually see a line right here where the nose is. So if I was going to pet this cat, you could tell there's some sort of line right here. So I'm going to add that. So some of this is really you kind of using guesswork on thinking where certain lines need to be. So one person's contour lines might look a little different than someone else's. But areas such as the eyes, maybe we're doing these areas of the, again, this is going to become an area of value, but we could outline it as a contour. And we're just going to go around every little thing here and so forth. Now, again, if we do a very quality job here, we should end up with a relatively good image of the cheetah. Also, we could do contour lines of the actual shapes here. And again, I told most of you I saw a student who did a really good job on their cheetah, and then they came in here and they just started scribbling black circles on their drawing. These aren't really big circles. Some of them look circular-ish, but they're all unique. And I know it sounds kind of crazy, but I would expect you to draw them all uniquely. Now, you don't even have to include them all. You could maybe say, hey, I'm only going to have some of them, and that would be okay. But your goal is trying to make it look as accurately real as possible. And it's never going to work if you just come in there and start putting circles, because circles are, again, symbols. And again, if you look here, you can actually see on my screen, I can see it at least, the ear goes in about to there, but the head is here because it's in the back. Now, again, if we were to continue on this, we should start seeing our cheetah, okay? Now, the other thing I did, you can see layer 2 here, and I'll just delete that and show you how I did it, is I'm going to make a fill layer. So I'm going to make a new layer, and I'm just going to call it fill. And the way I use a fill layer is I'm going to pick another color that contrasts well with the selected color. Again, it could just be white, but let's just use color for fun. And to create a fill layer, we need to make sure we are on the fill layer. We're going to use the paint bucket and just click that in. And again, if you notice, a lot of times it looks like the gradient tool, but let's make sure to use the paint bucket. And there's a fill layer. And I'm not going to continue finding the contour lines. I'll let you do that. Here's the one I did earlier. And you can really see that looking at this, these are detailed descriptive lines of the cheetah. So again, it's not an outline. It's not an interior line. It's not basic shapes. It actually is, these are the lines that we think, hey, this is what the cheetah looks like. Now, the next stage from here would be we will start doing our values and shading. And remember, we're doing this on paper. I just thought this would be a simple activity for you to try to find the contour lines, because sometimes it can be tricky to tell what you should be drawing. But again, remember, we do not want an outline. So here, that is an outline, okay? So the contours can include the outline, but they should also include interior details. This is what I want you to do. You're going to put a fill layer in there. So you'll have that, delete that one, and you'll go File, Save as PSD. And yours won't look like that. It'll be a little different. And then all you'll do is save it and then put it onto the classroom page to show me that you understand how to identify contour lines.